A lot of shots being fired at the SEC for cupcake scheduling. Indiana head coach Curt Cignetti said, "We figure we'd adopt an SEC scheduling philosophy."
I love his aggressive nature. I want to hear that from my coach. You know, he's a Yinzer, so he's got it in his blood. He's got that Italian blood too. So he's not going to back down from a fight. He's not going to back down from a big dog coming at him. Calling the SEC cupcake is wild.
Look, these are the out-of-conference games for not all SEC teams, but it is a reality with the out-of-conference.
This doesn't look great for the SEC. That you can say that while also understanding how dominant the conference is. Like, two things can be true at the same time here.
Let's see, the top 10 most valuable college football programs.
They would have never come out with a list like this before NIL. We're worth $2 billion and I get a $60,000 scholarship.
To go back to 2012, it was $2.23 billion. The most expensive valuation franchise was Manchester United, Premier League soccer. And so Texas, a college football program, if this was just 12, 13 years ago, would have been the most valuable sports franchise, surpassing those little English soccer clubs, okay? It's an American Texas sports franchise with Jerry Jones to thank for that. Hey, what? I'll listen to whatever Jerry says. And you know what? Going back to him, like, helping grow the NFL to what it is today, that's also the reason the Dallas Cowboys are the most valuable franchise in the world.
Same way that Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones and other Jerry Jones take care of their family, the same way I need to take care of my family. You know what I mean? I got my own 3 kids of my own, so we all need to take care of my own family at the end of the day.
Trey Hendrickson, the situation is, it has been very contentious. It's been very difficult negotiation. Publicly said he won't play this season without a new deal. Do you guys not think that we're getting into a bubble here with specifically wide receivers and pass rushing contracts? After every weekend where I broadcast an ELF game, we hit the tape and you guys critique some of my phrases and sayings. I had a couple of good ones. I had Big Dog in previous week. I had the Wizard of Offense. But our man here, Geno Smith, dropped this bar. I didn't come to Vegas to roll the dice. I came to run the table. Geno Smith coming into Vegas, gonna have success in the football field and also just inspiring people with his words right here. What do you guys think? Do you think Geno's gonna have success there with Pete Carroll in Vegas?
Absolutely. Like, him coming from Seattle at the late stage in his career, he took massive strides. Putting him in a room with a guy that is at least mentally young, like Pete Carroll, I think it's going to bode really well for the Raiders.
Yeah, and they got Ashton Genty in there. I don't know. I think I agree with you. Geno Smith is such an interesting character because he was just like brutal, written off, and then goes to Seattle. All of a sudden, just has this resurgence, and it's like, whoa, he's just come back.
He has a chiseled character that you want in a veteran quarterback.
Yeah,
because he has all the athleticism of like a first or second round pick, you know, but he has all the character building of all the adversity of a bounce around type of career.
True.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. So I went to Barnes and Noble this weekend with my daughter, and they're not just selling books. They're selling toys. They're selling all these things. And one of the toys, which is very hard to define as a toy, is a rock smoother, right? And Geno Smith is a rock that has been tossed in the smoother of the NFL, and he's been ground down. He's gotten all of the rough edges and everything sort of rubbed away. Now he's in a perfect spot to be that smooth pebble that lands in the garden of Las Vegas.
Scott, two things here. One of your best personal anecdotes ever, and also metaphors that I've ever heard come out of your mouth. One, I love to get a little color of your weekend, what you did, going to the bookstore. Fun for me, fun for Mike. We're watching.
Fun for dads everywhere.
Fun for dads everywhere. And then the rock smoother thing. Some of your best work. Mike, let's give it up for Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at it first off.
Very modern.
Yeah, I'm trying to get my daughter interested in things not just in the sports world, because she was locked in on the Open, on the French Open.
What's her favorite sport?
She's absolutely locked in on tennis right now, and she loves it because obviously my mom played it, everything like that. But volleyball is starting to trickle in there, and it's understandable, being that her mom was a professional volleyball player too. So she's kind of working in that realm.
She's going.
Here's what you should do. Start training her young, kind of destroy your relationship and make her resent you, but turn her into an incredible athlete. Kind of like, who are the Serena Williams?
King Richard.
Have you seen King Richard
with Will Smith?
Okay? I don't know, Scott. Could be worth it.
Okay. You got to think about the trade-offs here, okay?
Yeah.
You got to think about the trade-offs here.
Or like, what's the movie with the ice skater?
Blades of Glory.
Yeah. Forget it. The Olympic ice skater.
Tanya.
Tanya.
Yes. Yeah. Tanya Harding.
Brutal mother. Yeah, something like that.
The actress.
That's my parenting advice.
There you go. Scott, write that down. All right. We're going to come back to NFL, but we got to talk about college football a little bit here. Scott, I know you like this guy a lot. Okay. Indiana head coach Curt Cignetti said, we figure we'd adopt an SEC scheduling philosophy and cancel the home and home series with Virginia. And so there's a lot of shots being fired from Curt Cignetti. Also, from what I did just have up right there was from the SMU coach who he had another shot kind of fired at the SEC for kind of cupcake scheduling here. Kind of, in my opinion, bold words coming from Coach Cignetti here, because I think one of the biggest criticisms of Indiana last year was, okay, yeah, they're winning games, but how easy is their schedule? And then when they did finally get tested sort of at the end of the year, well, they kind of got easily handled by Notre Dame included. What are your thoughts on Curt Cignetti taking shots at the SEC?
I love his aggressive nature. I want to hear that from my coach. He's not gonna be the one who's putting question marks, as we'll see later on with like the Tennessee Titans front office, all that kind of stuff. He's at least on the surface promoting your team and its effectiveness and how good you guys are. So I love that element of his approach. And he's a Yinzer, so he's got it in his blood. He's got that Italian blood too. So he's not going to back down from a fight. He's not going to back down from a big dog coming at him.
Big dog.
He's a wizard of offense. So like this is Cignetti, I think, is one of the rare breeds of coaches still left in college ball. And we talked about Marcus Freeman. We talked about Saban potentially coming back. Like
right.
These guys are like in a realm of their own. And each college football coach has their own kind of quirks and their own character and so on and so forth. But I think Cignetti's interesting because it's taken him a very long time to call it get his flowers or bring his teams to like super prominence. He's gone through the ringer of being a head coach or as an assistant coach, and having his time to shine right now at a Big Ten program in Indiana, bringing them out of irrelevancy for all intents and purposes.
Pretty obscure.
I guess the question is like in terms of cupcake schedule, is he's got to be talking about strictly just the preseason or out of conference schedule, right? Because
so
calling SEC cupcake is wild.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about. Obviously, and that's why with the Virginia game, that would be an out of conference game. And then if you look here, I have kind of a rebuttal and a defense for Cignetti's words here. What do you want first? Do you want the defense or do you want the rebuttal?
Let's go with defense first.
All right, defense from one of your favorite guys, Dave Portnoy, actually. Okay. Okay. Who's obviously a big Michigan guy. Can you see this or is this too big? Hold on, let me make this.
I got a lot of Cignetti forehead.
There you go. Well, he's got a great forehead. Look at that hairline. Okay. Portnoy says, and Portnoy, obviously a big Michigan guy. Michigan always accepts every challenge. I don't disagree with Cignetti. What is the point of playing real teams when the SEC is cupcake central and doesn't get penalized by the committee for it? And yeah, it is important to note that we're talking about out of conference games, which the schools have like the ability to control and schedule. And if you do look at the SEC, and I had a graphic here of like a good handful of the SEC teams of their out of conference games, a little bit cupcake here. So Portnoy defending Cignetti. All right. And this guy's a big time SEC homer, I believe. So he's a little emotional here, but let's just try and take the words and not get too distracted by his emotions. Here it is, 90 seconds. Here we go.
All right. Curt Cignetti pops off at Big Ten Media Days and says, oh, well, we decided to get rid of our game against Virginia and get rid of an FBS game because we're taking an SEC approach to our scheduling. Show your work, Curt. I say this over and over and over again. If we're going to talk about sports, we're going to talk about college football, we are going to do it with factual information. And here's the actual factual information. This is the fourth time in as many years that Indiana has decided to get rid of a game against an FBS opponent to then schedule somebody lesser, okay? Or a Power 4 opponent to schedule somebody lesser. The three of the four opponents they have scheduled are FCS teams: Western Illinois, Indiana State, Austin Peay, and the one FBS opponent they have decided to schedule is Kennesaw State, who is in year 2 of being an FBS program overall. That means that for the next 5 years, Indiana currently has 13 games in their non-conference scheduled. They have 0 games against Power 4 opponents. They have 0 games on the road. They have 4 games they're playing against FCS opponents. And of the 7 total FBS opponents they are playing that are group of 5, only 2 of them have had a winning record in the last year. So if we're going to sit here and talk about what the SEC's done, I am challenging you.
All right. So, and I do have this, though, however. These are the out-of-conference games for not all SEC teams, but if you look at some of these teams that these SEC teams are playing out of conference, like Texas, San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston State. And it is a reality with the out of conference. And it just so happens that within the SEC, you have a gauntlet within the conference. What do you think?
The gauntlet comes through after like week 4. Like that's when you have no let up, because every week is going to be an absolute battle to the end. And I get what this guy's saying, but I find it really weird when somebody just has to promote and support an entire conference as though it's like their team.
True.
It's like, dude, be a fan of your team, and that's it. That's why I love being a Notre Dame fan, is because like, okay, I don't have to argue for anybody else or say anything other than what happens on the field. Yeah, the schedule has always been a conversation with Notre Dame because they're independent, and it's like, oh, they play cupcakes here and there, and it's like, well, no, we go with tradition. We go with like what's
the rivalries.
Rivalries, exactly. And I find it weird that there's a huge defense of the SEC in this sense, and we see it right here. It is pretty cupcakey for all intents and purposes for a majority of the SEC schedule. Now, there are the caveats to that. So you have like A&M plays Notre Dame in one of their 4 out-of-conference games, and there are many others that play formidable opponents. But this doesn't look great for the SEC. You can say that while also understanding how dominant the conference is. Like, two things can be true at the same time here, and you don't have to get so offended by a factual thing.
Right. And then also, if you look back at the college football season last year, it's like, well, why wouldn't you try and ease up your schedule a little bit? Because take a look at like Indiana, obviously getting in, and then SMU, we were talking about Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin going off on Twitter. Well, because they played a very, very difficult schedule and they lost some like tough SEC games. I mean, why would you not? With the way that it's set up right now with the committee and the 12-team playoff, put yourself in the best position to make the playoff, right?
Yeah. And this kind of piggybacks off of the conversation we were having on Monday is okay, if we're starting to implement longer postseasons and a larger postseason playoff tournament, ultimately people are going to optimize to get there. And do you really fault them for that? I mean, everybody's trying to optimize everything at all times, right. Business, life, so on and so forth. If you have a focus to win and succeed and be successful and go through those rigors, like people are trying to do that. So why are teams getting knocked for doing that in this setup? Like, they're going to take every opportunity they can to be as good as they can on the field and on paper. And with some of those things falling by the wayside. But I think if we're ballooning and expanding the playoffs, it's gonna get to a point where we're gonna have to just start chopping off some of these preseason games. And I get it, like having cross conference competition is great, but maybe it whittles down to 1 per year, and then you just focus on the conference.
That's what it feels like it's going to. It's just it's feeling like, okay, these are almost like NFL preseason games, the way that a lot of these schools are scheduling it. It's like, okay, what is the point here? Then you have every team coming in at like 4-0, 5-0 coming into conference play, and it's just like it just delays the inevitable. And I think that the way this is all going is just kind of pointless, and the way it's set up right now, I don't hate on anybody for trying to set up their schedule like that. Let's just take a look at Notre Dame's schedule for 2025, and just while we're on the subject, okay, I want to see a Fighting Irish. See what we got here. All right, let's see. Mike, you can chime in here. I mean, this is a pretty good schedule. Opening up Miami, Texas A&M, okay?
Yeah.
And okay, Arkansas, Boise State's always solid. And then you got the traditional USC, Boston College, Navy, Stanford. I mean, it's a pretty solid schedule right there. This is nothing that anyone can criticize.
Yeah, this year for sure. I think with Miami, granted they're coming off of Cam Ward, so the question mark with Carson Beck and how he's going to perform is still there. But they're at least on paper formidable, and going to be a difficult game regardless, especially at week 1 when everybody's trying to figure out who they are and how they're going to perform and working through those kinks. And then you got week 2 A&M, like I said, it's an SEC team. Arkansas being week 4 is massive as well. Boise State, I think, is probably the scariest that I'm looking at right now within the first half of the season. Like, those guys always come through. I talked about it. Oh yeah, they've had the history of coming in and upsetting big time teams.
Yes.
They're no longer necessarily like the upset team, right? They are among great programs now because they've been doing it consistently for 20 years now. So I'm worried mostly about them. SC, not so much. Lincoln Riley has not gotten the team on track during his tenure.
That has been a disappointment. I'll tell you. That's been a disappointment. Lincoln Riley at USC.
How long has he been there? Is this 2 years now?
I think he's been there 3. This is year 4.
That's enough time to turn it around with how much talent you have.
Yeah, I know. You can get a whole new roster in 1 year now.
Yeah.
Man, do it, dude. Los Angeles got all that money too. LA.
Yeah, it's insane.
Will Ferrell?
Will Ferrell? One of the funniest guys to support a college team. That's true.
Yeah,
that's how you would recruit me if I was a big recruit. Will Ferrell?
What comedians can you bring?
I'll sign.
You telling me Will's going to be on the sideline? Do you think he'll watch my? Do you think he'll watch my reel?
My reel.
Mike, did you guys ever play Boise State? Did you play at Boise State while you were there?
I never played at Boise State. We had them at home, and they were always so good. They were always like so tough, even when they weren't ranked. But like they're always a good team.
Yeah, they
you
really
get, like
are.
a lot of guys that like bounce back from Boise State because it's like kind of like it's kind of like an in between independent type of thing, and so you get a lot of good talent going through there.
I would liken them. They're a Swiss Army knife of college football. They're not quite the butcher's knife or anything like that the SEC is, but they're dynamic to where they can be anything they need to be at whoever they're playing. They're just like this strange program that kind of floats.
I am just loving your metaphors today. That is another great one. The Army knife of college football, plus the blue turf. Unbelievably beautiful tradition right there. Okay, while we're talking about college football, let's take a look at this because I always think that this is fascinating, especially as we get into the NIL era and more money going into college football and players starting to get it. The valuations of college football programs via The Athletic here. And this is, let's see, the top 10 most valuable college football programs. Let me try and make this a little smaller so we can see all 10. There we go. First of all, okay, take a look at these prices here. Texas at $2.3 billion. Are any of these a surprise to you guys? And then I have something interesting about the fact that college football programs are worth $2 billion now. Any of these jump out to you?
I wouldn't say this top 10 is surprising. I would say the fact that Tennessee got into the top 10, I knew they were like top 20 at the very least because it's an SEC program with a massive fan base.
Yes.
Because it's also just a massive school. So that makes sense. But them getting into the top 10, I say out of all of these is probably the biggest surprise.
Don't you feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm being stupid. Don't you feel like a Clemson should be around there? With all the success they've had?
Yeah.
And in the South, people throw the kind of caliber of boosters you get down there. Like they just throw money to the programs.
Well, that's
now with like these evaluations. So, like for example, with Texas being $2.3 billion, what exactly is that based off of? Like, it's just the same type of measurements as an NFL team, whatever
just
your
odds.
Ticket sales and. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's the same way that they do valuations like with NFL teams and merchandising, ticket sales, TV deals, like historical brand prominence, right?
Yeah, average viewership is definitely in there because then you can just project out like how many eyeballs are you going to be able to get on your program and your product to which you can sell advertisement, commercial, all that kind of stuff. Like that's all baked into this.
They would have never come out with a list like this before NIL was.
I know that's
just caused such a stir. We're worth $2 billion, and I get a $60,000 scholarship to go to school. That's it. Like, it would cause such a ruse. And
so this is
I'm glad that we can finally see these kind of numbers because these are cool lists.
It's really cool. This is a pro to the NIL era. They can finally feel, we're worth $2 billion.
By the way,
just $2
I
billion.
forgot to mention nobody asked. That's why I didn't say it.
Yeah. So here's what's crazy. Remember, like these are the school sports teams. If you go back to 2012, so I'm looking at the top rated or top valuation sports organizations in the entire world for professional sports. And it was in 2012, it was $2.23 billion. The most expensive valuation franchise was Manchester United, Premier League soccer. And so Texas, a college football program, if this was just 12, 13 years ago, would have been the most valuable sports franchise in the world. It's just crazy to see how these, and Scott, this kind of comes back to your theory of how these football programs might just detach from the universities because they're becoming their own entities now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they're their own financial behemoth, and I truly believe that it's going to be a licensing agreement between them and the university so that there's continuity of the fan base going forward. And they're going to end up functioning very similarly to, as you just said right there, Manchester United, as soccer clubs that just so happen to have the name of a university. And so like this is going to happen. This valuation thing is really interesting. I think there were a couple other graphics that were out there that were floating around that were based off of this valuation that also showed the program revenue and how those compared among the top 10.
Yeah.
That'd be really interesting to see too, because you can be valued at 2.4 billion, but if your revenue is, call it, 1 billion, does anybody else generate that same sort of income and everything? And I wanted to see like what the profit is. That margin is the biggest one. What's the delta?
Delta.
That's a delta.
Because then that's a real NIL bargaining chip. Because like valuation, great, but like what's the real dollar amount that you're bringing in that you can then reallocate?
I wonder if Mike, if you're not busy, could you try and look that up on Twitter?
Chat GPT.
You know what? Forget it. Well, I was going to bring this up, Scott. I mean, you basically just said it. Oh, sorry. Here it is. Of the former Milwaukee Bucks owner saying he's actively trying to buy college football and college basketball teams because of this whole conversation that we've been talking about here.
Dude,
all right, so
that's incredibly interesting. Like it's coming down the pipe, man. When there's this much money involved, you're gonna get PE money. You're gonna get investors interested in this. Like it's weird because it's like another version almost of sports gambling, but you can hide behind the word investment.
Yes.
And everything. And it's like that just seems to be the way in which this ship is going. And I can see this happening within a decade that there will be private investment in universities. Well, not even universities, if they're going to be clubs, football clubs,
college associated football clubs.
How would that ever work if somebody tries to buy a team that's like a state school, like attached to like,
Yeah.
I do not even know.
It's like the state's probably going to be able to secure at the very least 51% of the program, and then the other 49% for grabs.
Yeah, it'll probably have to be something like that. Okay, a lot of stuff. College football heating up. Thank goodness. I miss college football. I love that Curt Cignetti was just out there just taking shots and getting a little juice going in the college football world. We'll be talking a lot more about that. But let's pivot here to NFL because Jiminy Christmas, a couple of pass rushers still looking for deals. Let's start off with Micah Parsons. And also, actually, let's start off with Jerry Jones because Jerry Jones, I love him, making some comments here. And I'll scroll up to J.J. Watt's quote tweet of this in a second. But let's just I want to give you what Jerry Jones has to say here, taking a shot kind of at Micah Parsons.
Just because we sign him doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year. Seriously. We've signed, I remember signing a player for the highest paid at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year, Dak Prescott. So there's a lot of things you can think about when you, just as the player does, when you're thinking about committing and guaranteeing money.
Jerry is just, he's getting to be that old grandpa who's just starting to say wild, isn't he? Isn't he giving that vibe?
Say whatever you want, and they go, seriously. No, seriously, that's how it was. Uh-oh, we're venturing into some dangerous territory.
So J.J. Watt quotes read this and said, anytime you can publicly take a dig at your star quarterback and your star pass rusher simultaneously right before the season starts, you just got to take it. Nothing makes guys want to fight for you more than hearing how upset you are that they got hurt while fighting for you. And Micah Parsons actually retweeted this. So animosity here in the Cowboys organization. What do you guys make of this? Jerry doing this and Micah still unsigned.
Well, Jerry's always been, he needs to be the top guy, the main guy, within the program. And you saw it with I forget who he had first. I think it was Barry Switzer when he brought Barry Switzer in to coach first, or was it Jimmy Johnson? But either way, he had one of them, and they were doing great. They were winning championships, and there was nothing wrong performance-wise, and they were producing at the top of the league. But the coach was getting too much attention, and so he got rid of him and swapped him for I forget who, but it was one of those in that order. And it's a common thread with Jerry Jones that his ego will come into play.
This is also, this kind of steps on my theory that I threw out there in the last show about Nick Saban. If he were to go to the NFL, if he were to go to the Cowboys, Nick Saban's probably too big of a personality, and Jerry wouldn't like that because he would outshine Jerry, or there'd be some sort of conflict there with those big personalities. And so I think you're right, Mike. That kind of just stomps out my theory, don't you think?
I don't even know if it would be personality per se, but more of like Nick Saban knows ball to such a degree that he would kind of look at Jerry and be like, the hell are you talking about or doing?
Yeah.
Like,
What?
Like, I just don't think he wants to enter into a realm that there's somebody in there that has, call it the power of the purse and the ability to make decisions for the field, on the field that he doesn't have, and is just like totally on a whim. Like, what does he feel like today, sort of deal. Like Jerry, look, for all intents and purposes, this dude is a great performer. Like, he is awesome. Able to gin up some of the best hype and media buzz around his program. And that's why he is the GOAT of NFL owners, and has honestly been one of like the tip of the spear for the NFL becoming what the NFL is today, and guys getting paid what they're getting paid today. Jerry Jones is at that tip of the spear, and I don't think he gets enough credit for being that. So for him to talk about money and being able to pay players, like there is, while it's getting a little long in the tooth, we have to listen to him a little bit, because he has brought this business to where it is, almost single-handedly.
I'll tell you what, I'll listen to whatever Jerry says. And you know what, going back to him, like helping grow the NFL to what it is today, that's also the reason the Dallas Cowboys are the most valuable franchise in the world, surpassing those little English soccer clubs. Okay. It's an American Texas sports franchise with Jerry Jones to thank for that. And I don't see any other.
We have to thank his ego, because his ego helped do it.
Gosh.
Well, there's a difference. There's a difference between ego driving you to do certain things and then pride seeping in. The issue is when pride.
That's a good distinction.
The front facing thing. So like that's I guess what we should have gotten to at that conversation earlier. But I agree with you. Yeah. Like, it's gotten to him and the NFL to this point to where you have guys like a Micah Parsons being able to get paid $40+ million a year, which is insane for a D end.
Can we talk about that? Because I have a thing of Micah Parsons here. He's sitting out right now. He's claiming injury. Okay, I'll just throw this up just real quick. But we have to talk about, like, do you guys think that there's a bubble with some of these contracts here? Let me play Micah Parsons, and then I'll ask you.
Because like I said, my agent's been reaching out. As at one point, another grown man has to be willing to reach out himself. You know what I mean? Like, communication works both ways. They reached out, so that needs to happen too. They gotta want to do it on their part.
David reached out to the Joneses?
Yeah, for sure. David, I mean, not the Joneses, but Adam, whoever the in-betweener is, you know how they do it. I mean, honestly, for me, it really don't matter. Like I said, I've been pretty consistent. If they don't want me here, they don't want me here. I'll go about my business. I understand the nature of the business. Like I said, as long as I'm here and under contract, I'm going to do what I have to do to perform at the highest level. But if this is the end, this is the end. There's the same way that Jerry Jones and Steven Jones and other Jerry Jones take care of their family, it's the same way I need to take care of my family. You know what I mean? I got my own 3 kids of my own, so we all need to take care of our own family at the end of the day.
Trey, what does it mean that he's here?
So it doesn't sound like it's going great, but let's take it back. Like if I'm a Cowboys fan and I want Micah Parsons there, I would be like, oh, it's not good. But think back to the Myles Garrett stuff, like with Cleveland, where it's like, I'm out, I demand a trade, I'm done, and then all of a sudden, I love Cleveland, I'm back, we're good, we're signed. So like
never wanted to leave.
Yeah, I don't want to leave. This kind of stuff is all, I think, part of the negotiations. But do you guys not think that we're getting into a bubble here with specifically wide receivers and pass rushing contracts? Because they're getting double the amount at the top level. Like, I think the highest paid safety, for example, gets like $20 million a year, and the highest paid pass rusher gets like 40. And that's what Micah Parsons wants. Like, do you guys think there's a bubble?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's interesting because the position of defensive end, it's a unique one in that we talk about quarterbacks and their pay. Really, a lot of their ability to perform depends on themselves and their decision making. Whereas a defensive end, like, you can only do so much to affect change on the field, and it's a lot. But if you're going up against a formidable tackle and or guard, they can negate your impact greatly. Sure. In a way in which can't be negated on a to a quarterback. Yeah, you can put schemes and you can play different defenses and everything like that, but still it comes down to execution on the offensive side of the ball, their decision making. Defensive ends are interesting because you even brought up like Micah Parsons. Like, I don't know if this is true. We should probably look this up. But like, if he's not as effective against better teams or above 500 teams,
he's
like,
not. He's not
a lot of garbage time stats.
He's not. Yeah.
Like, that's where the rub is like, how effective are you against top tier tackles? And I think that should be the payment structure for DNs.
Yeah, that's how the contract should be built up. You can't throw garbage time stats in there and be like, I had 20 sacks just the same as this guy. Yeah, but when were they against who? I think that's like a very legitimate thing to factor in.
And I feel like Micah Parsons is not even thinking about that stuff. I mean, I've got of course. I mean, kudos to his camp and his agent for fighting to try and be the highest paid. But I personally don't think that he should be the highest paid pass rusher. I think that's like a TJ Watt or Myles Garrett. I just feel like they're more consistent against higher level, kind of more when it matters. This doesn't say like Micah Parsons is a little bit more versatile, I would say, and you can kind of put him in the middle there, and it can come like up the middle as well. But still, like when it matters, it matters. And so
and it's like you can make the argument, okay, you're not getting the stats when you're going up against better teams because they may be having to put two guys on you. You may be getting doubled far more frequently against better teams. So like that is also part of the calculus, and it's like it's hard to attack Micah for that because he probably is getting doubled a lot, and he's probably getting backfield help all the time. Those linemen are for covering him, and that's why he's not producing statistically in the same measure, but he is effective in that sense. But at the end of the day, it's like a sack is a sack, and if an offense is able to negate you even with doubles or backfield help, how effective are you if you're losing those games, right? So like it'd be one thing if you were able to take that away from their offense and they wouldn't be able to perform at the same level they're able to do. So that's like where you got to get into like the granular details of stats and effectiveness. But this is crazy that we're even talking about this. TJ Watt gets broke off. Micah is talking about this. We're not even talking about Trey Hendrickson, the sack leader for the past 2 seasons. There we go.
Right here. I got him dialed up, dude. Well, this is the thing. So Trey Hendrickson, the situation is they say that it has been very contentious. It's been very difficult negotiation all off season. We know that because he appeared on some shows and like Trey Hendrickson said some of that stuff. He publicly said he won't play this season without a new deal. And he just posted an Instagram story with a geotag in Florida. I'm not I'm
open roads.
Here's one thing about professional athletes is how they think it's so cool to do these cryptic Instagram or cryptic social media posts like they're an 8th grader. Nobody talk to me. I don't want to talk. It's that kind of energy of like an 8th grade girl. It's crazy.
Exactly what that is. It's like subtweeting somebody. But the reason, this is also why I think that there's a bubble, because we're seeing 2 of these premier pass rushers, and there's been such tension and such conflict to try and get these guys the contracts that they feel they deserve. Is the market correcting itself? Is that why we're seeing such tension and conflict for 2 of the better pass rushers and the sack leader in the NFL right now? Do you think that adds credibility to my theory? I do.
Well, I do. You think it'll correct itself within one offseason of negotiations, or would the corrections come after this season and then next season it corrects? I feel like it's too hard to make that kind of correction during the season of negotiating contracts.
I don't think that we can. I don't know if it's like a housing market where it just crashes all at once, like one day. Like I don't know if it's like Black Tuesday, 1929. Maybe it's more gradual with these position contracts in the NFL. Who knows? But what do you think?
I gotta imagine it's more of the former, like where it happens overnight, almost like 1 year. So where it's just it's like because right now we're seeing
former is the first. Always remember the F.
Right now, I'm always impressed when people can throw that into their conversations. The former or the latter, to know
Scott's
that, incredible.
It's really good.
Good for you.
Okay. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Scott.
Well, it's gonna crash and burn all at once, and you're gonna be left out to dry. If you just so happen to be in that cycle at that moment in time. So we're seeing it slightly here with Trey Hendrickson, but I think because TJ and because Miles in the same offseason got broke off, Micah is right there, probably going to happen before kickoff to the season, if not in the middle of the season. This is going to happen all at once. I think unless Trey can get something worked out with a notoriously, call it frugal program or organization in the Bengals. If they're able to do that, I think he's safe. But beyond this, it's interesting because we all talked about how absurd the Deshaun Watson guaranteed money is, and it like absolutely astronomical. There was no gradual step toward that. It was just overnight. We took like a decade.
And that's usually, you don't see that when going up. You see that when going down.
Right. So, in the immediate term, you saw that skyrocket, right? So you got Trevor Lawrence getting guaranteed money. You got Dak, which we were just talking about, became the highest paid dude per year and everything like that. So in the immediate term, we saw that skyrocket. But I think that's going to taper off, especially as we've talked about the cap being what it is today, with quarterbacks being a part of that cap. Like you cannot go beyond what you're doing right now and have a decent roster.
No, I don't know where it goes from here. So there we go. Those two guys. Speaking of quarterbacks, all right, we got one who's not been great. I mean, he's been great for some things. He's been great for generating memes on the internet. Shout out to Will Levis. But he is out for the season, shoulder injury. And the front office for the Tennessee Titans had a very interesting response here when a reporter asked them if they were going to win the Super Bowl or had a chance to win the Super Bowl. Here we go. They're not putting off the biggest confidence. Here it is.
Last 3 questions right here, guys.
Simple question. The team you put on the field tomorrow, can that team win the Super Bowl?
Listen, that's always the goal every year. Yeah. We also realize we have a lot of work to do on this roster.
Last 2, go ahead.
Okay, and it's subtle there, but it says a lot. These guys basically laughed at the thought of them winning the Super Bowl. Do you guys like the realism, or do you think that this just is kind of not good to have a lack of confidence?
It's not good at all. You need realism, like in the office, like in the offseason and in practice, in terms of your inputs. But you have to convey such belief and faith to your team, especially because it's like when you call a play, it's like the same thing. When you call a play, there's a million ways to score a touchdown, but it's about the execution of the play and the players believing that this play is going to work. And football is a game of belief more than any other sport, I think. And so part of your role as a coach and a staff is instilling that belief in your team, that faith in your team.
Yeah.
This is so European to me. So one of the crazy things about coming to play football in Germany is like, in college and in high school football, you could be going up against like the best team in the state, or at Georgetown, we weren't very good, and we would be playing, a top 25 ranked team. We're like, we're going to win. We can actually do this. Like we're underdogs. We're going to win. You get to Germany and like, all the guys on the German guys on the team, if you're playing against a team that's better than you, they're like, yeah, we're going to lose this week. It'll be fun, but there's no way we win. We have no chance. It's just like crazy. It created this huge contention, like point of tension between the Americans and the Germans. Like, what the hell, man? You gotta think that you can. Yeah, think you have a chance. So this reminded me of that. Sort of the very European perspective.
That's one of America's greatest exports is self-belief and believing you can beat the odds. That's one of the greatest things America has given to the world, I think.
Well, think about why. Not to get too far off the sports here real quick, but who are Americans? They're people who left their country on some sort of just delusional adventure. Like, I'm going to go on a boat and start a new life and go on a wagon all the way across the country. I can do it. I'm going to live.
It's going to be better.
English. Yeah, it's going to be better. Okay. So that's why it's shocking to see American coaches react like this. Scott, what's your take on this?
Yeah, no, I think you guys are you can speak to it way better than I can because I never got to play overseas, but there's a can-do attitude in Americans. It's like anything is possible if you just put your focus and your drive toward that goal. And it may not happen right away, but there's at least the pursuit and movement toward it, as opposed to like never taking that first step in the first place. Like that's what I love about that. And I totally forgot what we were talking about outside of Will Levis. Oh yeah. Going back to Will Levis, like having the front office at least put on the face of being, hey, we got a shot this year. We think the roster we put together, while it may not be it may not be like the most eye-popping roster, like it's lethal in a way that nobody else is looking at. So like at least putting it in that framework might actually instill some of that hope and optimism within the locker room, and even in a younger coaching staff. Like, why would you not try to play it up? It just seems like arms crossed, Either they just wanted to get out of there. This was one of the last questions of an hour-long press conference or whatever to a long day. They were just like, I want to get out. But like at the same time, you gotta recognize the moment. And yes, there's realism that needs to be had, but let's not let that bleed into pessimism.
Realism sucks. Realism is pessimism, actually. Very European.
No realist has ever accomplished anything in the history of mankind. There, I said it.
There we go. That's Mikey's catchphrase. And Scott, your catchphrase is, what was it? Smooth and rocks. All right. Mine is big dog. Last thing on football, just because Tyrann Mathieu retired, we do have to just give him a shout out. Absolute legend. Coming back from all that adversity in college when he got in trouble, but he was just such a unique player. But the reason I bring him up here is because this guy tweets his college tape is up there with Tavon Austin and Reggie Bush as the most electric ever. And I wanted to ask you guys, who was the football players highlight tape, college or NFL, that you guys would watch back in the day to get inspired? Do you have one?
Wow.
Oh, wow. College tape.
Or
in like youth football. In youth football, it was always like Barry Sanders and Walter Payton. Always those two.
Yeah.
And then when I got to college, I would just watch Christian all the time.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Scott, did you have any?
Nick, now you're just outing me for how old I am. Like when we were in high school, YouTube was like a baby and we didn't even know what YouTube was really at that point. So like, where would I go to watch highlights of anyone?
You go
outside
to
of ESPN?
DVDs. No, you go and you watch ESPN Sports Center back when it was still good.
No,
you're right. Okay. But I'm thinking, all right, in college, what did I used to watch? I used to watch Luke Kuechly. Luke Kuechly highlights, linebacker, great, very inspiring, absolute baller. All right, good football stuff. Last thing for today, you guys want to do this thing? The statement from Khabib, the MMA fighter. I thought it was interesting, and I also think it can kind of tie back to what we were talking about with like Scotty Scheffler versus Tiger Woods versus like LeBron versus MJ. And so here is what Khabib had to say. Okay. It says, you cannot compare his legacy. Or you know what? Well, he's kind of hard to understand. You want me to read it? Or you want me to play it? Let's try.
We have the subtitles. So
all right, let's try. Let's try. All right.
По достижениям,
his English has gotten.
опять-таки то, что мы говорили ранее. Достижение.
It's in a different language. I think I should just read it.
His English has gotten better. It's not English.
I could have swore I understood. I must be, my Dagestani has gotten better.
It's a little rusty.
Says you cannot compare his legacy with John Jones, and he explains why. Achievements and legacy are different. Legacy and achievement are two different things. A lot of people confuse these two concepts. What is legacy? Legacy is when kids look at you and feel inspired by you. As a fighter, he's the best. As a person, in terms of inspiration, character, and when it comes to personal qualities, there will always be questions. As an athlete, he reached greatness, but he has no equal, but there will always be questions about doping, whether he was caught or not. And yes, he was caught. That's a fact. He does throw that in at the end there, a little dig. But I thought this is interesting because there's kind of like, it reminded me of the conversation we were having about like Scotty Scheffler versus Tiger Woods and like what sort of legacy you are leaving and how you make fans of the sport feel. Like Michael Jordan, I think, made a lot of people feel something. And maybe some kids, maybe it's just an age thing, but I don't think that LeBron makes people feel as much as Michael Jordan makes you feel. Tiger Woods made people feel more than Scotty makes people feel. What do you guys think about this and Khabib's words?
I love the distinction that he's making here. I would agree with the former comparison and not so much with the latter with Tiger Woods and Scotty. I think as we've been talking about, it's like there are two different things. So like with the MJ and the LeBron conversation, it's like those two are both freaks of nature, but there's almost an inverse where Michael Jordan wasn't like an Adonis that you looked at. And it's like, he wasn't 6'9", 6'10", 275 and jumping out of the gym. He was more of a average statured man, like obviously 6'5", 6'6", like, more people could probably connect to him at least on a physical level and be like, oh, there may be a chance that I could be that person. Right. But it was his mentality that we saw play out on the court. And that's what people fell in love with, is just his hyper focus. And then LeBron is just like one of those people that's freak of nature, once in a lifetime or generation sort of athlete, maybe 3-4 generation athletes, and has transcended in a way in which a lot of people have a hard time connecting. And then obviously like the way in which he's gone about his pursuits on court, off court, it hasn't necessarily jived in the same way that Michael did. Scotty, I think, is that inverse where people view him and the way in which he goes about his life, and they're like, whoa, this dude is like me or my friend or, something like that, my next door neighbor. Whereas Tiger was something that was untouchable. He was that laser focused dude that was almost a robot out there because he was so good.
I know what you mean. I'm a little bit torn here because part of me thinks that like, okay, when you have a guy like Scotty, that it's way more relatable. And it's like, it's a guy who's very balanced, but I feel like you get more of an inspiration and a feeling from somebody that kind of transcends a sport, like a Tiger Woods, something that you just said is untouchable. There's like, it's an untouchable ideal to strive for. So that's why I say that Tiger makes me feel more than Scott.
Yeah. I think because we were talking about it before, hope, right? You can look at an ideal. You can look at that ideal of that athlete and be like, oh, that's something I can never attain. It's so cool to see. And that's why he's untouchable and all that kind of stuff. But then you also get the guy who is performing almost to the same degree that's winning and doing these things. But there's hope that you could maybe be that. Because they're able to relate to you in a way. So like in the same way that there's a distinction that Khabib is making, I think these guys, there's two things can be true at the same time. And I think that's what these comparisons are showing.
That's exactly what it is. It's just that there's like, LeBron even said that, excuse me, at like in, I don't know which year, maybe 2015.
Chasing a ghost.
When he's like, yeah, I'm chasing a ghost. And he played for the Chicago Bulls. And it's like, okay, you revealed that. So we know. Yeah. I don't know. Michael Jordan, like he was chasing a man or is chasing a man, whereas Michael created something new. Like we said, transcended the stratosphere. He's not chasing somebody else. And I mean, you can make the argument for, Tiger chasing some of those previous golfers, but he also transcended it. And Scotty's chasing Tiger right now.
Yeah.
Right. He's chasing another man.
I was just listening to my elders there and digesting.
Making you feel something, right?
Yeah.
There we go. All right. There we have it. You know what I want to do? I want not this show, but another show. Because we're working, like I said, to bookend this episode. We're workshopping my broadcasting. I want to put up like a football play for you guys, and I want you guys to broadcast a play. Okay.
Oh, that's fun.
One of these
episodes. That's a great idea.
Okay? Just
podcast corner.
No sneak peek. You get it live. Okay. You get to see it
no
live.
Research, nothing.
Some would say no warm up.
No. And there we have it. The No Warm Up podcast. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching.